Hello and welcome to Consumer Behavior Marketing 3310. This presentation covers data and its impact on consumer behavior. So the general theme of the entire presentation is that massive amounts of consumer behavior data are gathered and compiled on a very frequent basis by numerous brands across the globe. This concept of massive amounts of data led into this whole industry that we talked about with big data. The amount of data that was being collected exceeded the capacity of traditional computing, traditional storage, into where now we have this concept of cloud computing, concepts of big data, being able to use massive amounts of data to be able to pull intelligence out of that, and has led into the concept of edge computing as well. Going down to this picture that we have, being able to define the whole consumer. And so when we start talking about data, bits and pieces of data that are not linked together are quite useless from that perspective. However, when we start talking about this concept of the whole consumer and being able to look at an entire consumer profile, we start to being able to link data together and being able to identify a more robust picture of our consumer. In the green section at the top of the circle is what we call the brand universe. This whole concept of what the brand, whichever brand that you want to look at, whether you are looking at your favorite clothing company, the favorite retailer, the favorite restaurant, whichever brand that you're thinking about, there is a lot of information that the brand already knows about a given consumer because you have some relationship with that brand. You have purchased something from that brand or multiple products perhaps. You frequent the retail store, you frequent the restaurant. There's a lot of information that the brand already knows about you, and you have occasionally freely provided that brand with information to be able to provide some marketing efforts towards you, whether it's email address, a digital profile that you've liked, their social media page or something along those lines, and the brand is compiling that information. The brand also uses that information that they already know about you to be able to build a profile about you to be able to predict your future behavior. If they know that you come into the restaurant every Friday evening for dinner, they can be relatively assured that you're going to continue that behavior, and they can help remind you to come in, or they can provide you different offers to come in on Friday and Saturday night, or perhaps to bring friends with you to be able to increase the amount that your ticket is at the end of the night. Now, there is also a lot of information that the brands do not know about you specifically, and these things are called out in the purple section at the bottom of the graphic here. So again, the green section is the interactions that you have already had with the brand. They have recorded those and they know those things about you. Even if the information and the data is not totally perfect or completely linked together, there's still a lot of value from that. The sections in the purple are the areas where the brand may not have a direct link with you or a direct interaction with you. For example, the product transactions down here on the right-hand side is the brand would be interested in what are you buying that is not something the brand is selling. So if you're looking at potentially purchasing tennis shoes, for example, and that you are regularly purchasing Under Armour tennis shoes, well, Nike is going to be very interested in understand why you're purchasing and what you're purchasing that is not a Nike product, because that is just as valuable information about what you're purchasing from competitors as it is from Nike itself. And so this other concept is that there are complementary products. If you think about shoes, right? Athletic shoes, well, there's a lot of clothing that goes along with that as well. And if Nike can look at their complementary spend that you have with your share of wallet with Lululemon or something along those lines, some other athletic apparel, they can say, oh, this is a valuable customer that we could go try to attract that is not yet purchasing our product. The next little box down here is the consumer population characteristics. These are the things about you. And we'll look at a chart in a minute that helps clarify some of those things. But these are your demographics, where you live, your age, your income, your gender, et cetera, those things that make you you, but also those things are bits and pieces that influence how much you buy and what you spend. The social media is a very important aspect of it as well, because social media really, the influence of that has expanded dramatically over the past several years, specifically over the past 10 years, to where there is such a volume of information. And remember, the first slide we looked at is that massive amounts of information are being collected about you all the time, specifically about your purchase behavior, but also what you're talking about online. If you have an affinity towards Under Armour and you talk about how great those tennis shoes are that you just purchased, and are texting out to your friends and posting on social media and posting on websites, and you write a blog because you're a fitness expert about how great this latest Under Armour product is, that is very valuable information for the brand to know and to understand. Again, your consumer behavior is recorded. There are ways, of course, that you can be more anonymous by you pay with cash and that you don't have a relationship with a given brand. You walk in cold to a brick and mortar store and you buy that pair of Under Armour tennis shoes with cash, and you don't provide any information to the store. Frankly, they will never know who you are and why you purchased that set of tennis shoes, and that's a lost transaction for them. But say that you went into the store and you bought that brand of Under Armour tennis shoes and you paid with a credit card. Now they have a reasonable way of identifying who you are, even if it's literally just based upon that credit card, which can later be linked. Think about the concept that you walk into a given shoe store and you're a reward member of that given shoe store, or a loyalty member of that, to where you have signed up and have agreed to marketing campaigns for that given store because you're receiving coupons. And so the reason that you're in there now is because you have a 20% coupon that you're going to redeem when you purchase that pair of Under Armour tennis shoes. They know exactly who you are. They know your contact information, where you live, and now they have a better profile, a more complete profile, that the individual coming in to purchase this set of Under Armour tennis shoes is this person. They live at this address. We have their history of what they've purchased. They buy Under Armour tennis shoes every 6 months, or perhaps even more frequently because they're a runner or some athletic person that wears out shoes more frequently. And the idea of the amount of data, the detail of data that is recorded, is something that should be appreciated as well. So let's again use our concept of our Under Armour tennis shoes. The concept says the shoe store really wants to understand that you have bought Under Armour tennis shoes, yes, but a specific style of Under Armour tennis shoes. Are they for running? Are they for tennis? Are they for basketball? What is that style for? What's the product name of those tennis shoes? So again, you're purchasing the tennis shoes literally to play tennis, and they have a specific name. Perhaps they have a celebrity endorsement to that as well. That's information that the brand can use to be able to say, is our celebrity endorsement working? Are consumers buying the celebrity endorsement for some reason or not? There's a product code that goes below that, even down to literal the color of the shoe and the size of the shoe, and whether that shoe had a different set of different color of laces. In other words, a given color of shoe can have multiple different colors of laces in terms of options of what you can purchase. So the information is recorded all the way down to the very, very specific SKU level at the store about what it is exactly that you purchased. Think about the concept that you're a mother who's bringing your children into a given shoe store, and it's right before school starts for a given school year. And you're purchasing shoes for you, and then all of a sudden now you're purchasing shoes for your littles. And the brand can see that year after year that you're coming into the store, right in August before school starts, your children's feet are growing, and they can forecast what's going to happen next year and the size of shoe that they're going to need. And they can probably forecast whether it's going to be a boy or a girl that you're buying shoes for based upon the color or the style or whatever the case is. And so this information that's recorded down to the product level is extremely helpful for brands to be able to market to you. In other words, to influence your consumer behavior based upon the product knowledge that they have. This is the power of data and why the brand takes so much time and care to be able to compile this information. So let's look at a given example here. And again, this is completely made up data, completely fake information, but again, it helps exemplify how brands start compiling this information. So I created a spreadsheet as a surrogate for what would be a relational database in a given brand's enterprise infrastructure. We have customer ID, and then we have household ID, because households are rolls up of customers. In other words, there's a male and a female living in a given household, whether they're married or not. They're identified as living at the same address. First name, last name, address, age, income, gender, marital status, last date of purchase, last date purchase amount, and again, many more columns, potentially hundreds of columns out there about the information that you purchased, your behaviors, when you came to the store, what time of day you came to the store, what days you come to the store, what days of week, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all predictors about your future behavior. So for the first example, in the blue rows here, we have customer ID 123 and 124, which is John and Sally Jones from that side. They live at 123 Main Street. Sally is 52 and John is 56. Their income, 125, 120. A gender is female and male, and we think they're married. Perhaps they told us that, or they have purchased products that lend us to believe that. The last date of purchase for Sally was August of 2020. And John has a more recent purchase in September 2020. And they have variable amounts here, but again, they're fairly spending a fairly good amount with us. The next household we can look at is Betty and Michael Smith at 456 South Street, closer in age. So this is a younger population comparatively to our Jones family, but they make less income. Betty's making $60,000 and Michael's making $35,000. So right off the top of the bat, if the brand can compile and understand this information, we know the Smith household earns less than the Jones household. Theoretically, the Jones household has a higher level of purchasing power than the Smith household. And the offers, in other words, the discounts that we would provide the Smiths versus the Joneses are going to be different. Theoretically, the Joneses need less discount comparatively to the Smiths to get them to purchase the same product because they have variable levels of income. Now, this is just an example. We don't know that for sure. We would use the data that we've collected and analytics about that to be able to prove that point, that the Smith household needs a bigger discount than the Jones household to be able to buy the same product. The last example we have down here at the bottom in the green is Claire Roberts at 789 North Street. This is a younger individual, still making a very good salary, gender female, and we assume that she's single because we don't know anything else about that given household. The last purchase was May of 2019, but out of these examples, she has the highest amount of purchase, significantly more than the others. So does this person have a higher affinity, but a less frequent purchase pattern comparatively to the folks that are married? Again, these are things that the data will tell us after we apply analytics to it. So again, to that point, using that data and analytics, your future behavior is intelligently predicted. We look at the data, we apply analytics models, consumer behavior models, next product purchase models, et cetera, to be able to predict what it is that you're going to buy, when you're going to buy it, why you're going to buy it, and how we can influence you to go do that action. We want you to be back into the store, back onto the website, whatever the case may be, to be able to purchase more products. How can we send you information, marketing campaigns, and influence your behavior by using the data we've already collected about you specifically, data we've collected about you that necessarily isn't our own data, and apply analytics to be able to influence that behavior. Again, marketers use all of that intelligence to influence your behavior in a holistic fashion. The intent isn't necessarily always to sell you a direct product, but again, since we're in a consumer behavior class, the intent of this course is how we use that data to be able to influence your behavior to purchase something next. Other brands, other organizations, if you look at nonprofit organizations, they may use that exact same methodology, not in the intent to get you to purchase a product, but in order to influence you to give a donation to that nonprofit brand. Non-government organizations may use that same concept of data and being able to compile information to influence your political views. Again, we don't know based upon the organization. Again, we don't know the organization. Any example that you want to use in terms of the type of organization, their intent, and what they're trying to sell in terms of products or services or behaviors, they can use data and analytics to be able to do so.